Welcome back, viewers. I'm here to dump another useless video on YouTube for your entertainment. Today, we're going to talk about some home audio equipment that I just picked up for free. So, let's get the tripod adjusted. Now, what I have here is actually what I think to be a fairly decent old cassette deck. Old as in probably mid-90s, early 2000s. This is a JVC TDW354. It's a dual cassette deck, auto reverse on both decks. I think they're both full control. This is a nice little unit. I actually kind of like this thing. But it's got its share of problems. Now, before we get into this, I want to talk about YouTube commenters. So I want to say this. The subject matter at hand, cassette decks, audio equipment, it's going to draw a wide variety of viewers. Most of them are going to be looking for quick answers. In other words, how do I fix my turntable is what they're going to Google, and they're going to see this video, and they're going to watch it, and then they're going to bitch about it in the comments, saying, why didn't you tell me how to fix my turntable? Or how do I fix my turntable? Or why didn't you just get to the point? Why don't you shut up and just talk about how to... Listen, straight up, this video is not for you. Not what my channel is about. I don't give quick answers. I talk. My channel is about me talking about life experiences and equipment that I like, and you know, whatever I feel like talking about. That's what my channel's about. Today we're talking about a cassette deck. Actually, we're going to be talking about a turntable, but that's besides the point. And Bob's your uncle. So, so no, this is not a how-to fix-it channel. It's not what I do here. It's let's talk about this. Let's take a look at what happened to it. Let's see where the failure happened. Now, the other thing is it's going to draw people who are audiophiles, and they're going to say, this thing sucks because it's not this. Or why didn't you get this thing instead of this thing? My thing is better than your thing. Why don't you have my thing? Okay, for you, again, channel's not for you. I'm not an audiophile. Okay? I mean, my favorite band is Steely Dan. Clearly, I'm not an audiophile. Actually, that could be debatable, because the perfection that is Donald Fagen, my God, you just can't get any better than that. Anyway, all right. So, scenario A, you just came back from the thrift store. You just bought yourself a nice cassette deck. Yeah, you got a good deal on it. It's the one you wanted. And really, the spray bottle doesn't work? Are you shitting me? Somebody wants to create a YouTube channel on how to fix spray bottles. I'm all ears. Hold on. Yeah, and if you really want to learn about the specifics, right down to the wow and flutter variances between production changes and all that nonsense. If you like that kind of stuff, you'll love V Westlife. So V Westlife, that's his deal. I just like to talk about things. That's what I do. Oh, and another thing, if you're gonna leave nasty comments on my channel, you better have some videos to back it up. Seriously, I don't respect people. I respect people who criticize me, which is fine. That's what we do. We're humans. We criticize each other. Sometimes in fun, sometimes just to be complete assholes. But if you don't have any videos on your channel and you're telling me I'm doing it all wrong, or you're telling me that I suck as a YouTuber, which is a fact, by the way, it's not an opinion, I do suck as a YouTuber, but you better have some freaking videos on your channel explaining the right way. Because if you don't have any, if you have no content to back up what you're saying, or you have not put yourself in the position of a YouTuber and received some heavy criticism yourself, you have no right criticizing others. That is my opinion. That is not a fact. Okay, let's get on with it, shall we? Picked up this cassette deck, the dual cassette deck, full logic on both sides, auto reverse, full logic, meaning it is completely servo controlled. I don't know anything about this model. I don't know what the specifics are, but I bet V Westlife has done a complete rundown on this exact model or something like it. Anyway, we're gonna just quickly dust it off here. I'm gonna use some window cleaner. Now, you're going to have people in the comments that say don't ever spray Windex on top of or directly on electronics. They are not wrong. They are not wrong. But I've assessed the risks and I've accepted them. Never spray Windex directly on electronics. And some people are going to say don't use Windex at all. Use vinegar or something. Okay, buddy. I've been using Windex to clean just about everything since 1998. And you know something? I have never had Windex ruin a screen except one time, and I'll tell you about that. Okay, I'll tell you right now. I had Windex destroy a plasma screen TV that I bought new. To this day, the TV still works, but the coating on the face of on the glass, there's a coating on this thing. It is completely annihilated. But the TV works fine. I've had it for 11 years, 12 years. Shit, has it been that long? Maybe even longer. Well, anyway, that TV still works great. It just looks like shit. But that's okay. I don't mind. Alright, look at how clean that is. Look, it looks brand new. So let me tell you about this this cassette deck. Now, based on the cassette that was in it when I got it, this thing did not belong to an audiophile, unless it was a very interesting audiophile. This cassette deck belonged to an elementary school. It was in the music room for... Let's see how old it is. Is there a production date? Sometimes there is, sometimes there's not. No, no production date. But it was made in Malaysia by the Victor Company of Japan. I remember JVC back when they mattered. Now they don't. They're kind of a footnote in history. I think JVC's name is being used on everything from camera cases to probably watches now. They probably have JVC like fitness watches. They probably have JVC. What other, like what happened to the Philco brand or the Crosby brand, Crosley. All those old brands have been completely destroyed by companies that buy the name and stick it on washing machines and what else? You'll think of something. All right, we're just gonna quickly kind of clean this thing up a bit. So this unit has a very serious problem, and I'm going to show you what it is. We don't want to put a cassette tape in this thing, but I'm going to anyway. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to miss Teddy Bear's Picnic. Let's plug it in and see what it does. Now, I don't have an audio output device hooked up to it. I have no speakers or anything, so let's just put the tape in and see what it does. So, I'm going to fix this thing, I swear to God. Just not in this video. We have another project to work on, but we're just kind of getting started here. So you turn it on, it powers up. Now if you look at that display, there's a fluorescent display. These often fade out on electronics as they get heavy use. This thing is brighter than the sun. I'm very happy to see that. It looks good. I'm gonna pop it open here. Now let's take a look inside. I'm gonna get a light going. Now, a couple of things that I'm seeing here. Number one, looks like corrosion. No, that's just buildup. A lot of buildup on this capstan right here. The pinch rollers, both pinch rollers, you can clearly see are very oily. Now, if you just bought this from the thrift store, the first thing that I would tell you to do, again, it's just me talking, I'm not a professional audiophile, I have no credentials, so to speak. The first thing you want to do is open up, before you even buy it actually, take a look inside both, or whichever, if it's a single deck, dual deck, whatever, take a good look inside and look at how much dust buildup is in there. This read-write head is, or play-record head is completely coated in just smudge. I just made up that word. Both pinch rollers are hard as a rock. Okay, completely, they're hard, so they're going to cause some slippage. I'm going to say this was made sometime in the late 90s, give or take. And I say that because it wasn't until like the 90s, late 90s, 2000s, where rubber components started being made out of junk, and they would degrade rapidly. And I've never seen one degraded like this before in my personal experience. But the whole tape path is completely trashed. And it is completely savable. There is a kit I can buy for like $20, and I can replace all 4 pinch rollers and all the belts. It's that's what I'm going to do with this unit. I'm going to save this thing. It's all here. Why not? I don't know if this has a remote sensor, but I can tell you if it does. Let's take a look at the. Now, usually they're easy to pick out because there's going to be a little window that you can see under some light. Not sunlight, some light. Usually it'll be up here somewhere. I don't see any place where there would be one. Yeah, this does not have a remote control sensor. We may find one as we get it apart. We might find where there is one, probably behind here or here. But usually the sensors themselves are visible because it's going to be a little infrared LED mounted, or receiver mounted in a it looks like an LED, but it's not an LED. Little infrared receiver mounted in a little metal box of some kind, and usually they're quite visible behind this plastic, but I don't see anything like that here. So it looks like we're not missing a remote. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So, but as we dig into it, maybe look up the specs on this thing, we'll know more about it. But all right, so what I'm going to do, my plan of action for this unit, which we'll do in a future video, is we're going to take both cassette decks apart, and we're going to replace all the pinch roller tires. They don't sell the whole roller, it's just a tire. I'm going to do both of those on each side, and I'm going to clean both cap stands. This is an auto-reversing deck, so it has 2 cap stands rather than 1, which is kind of cool, actually. But we're going to put a tape in. Let's see what it does, shall we? All right. Does it play? Does it move forward? It does. It actually moves the tape. That's a good sign. Now, will it fast forward? Let's check the control aspect of it and see how much of it works. Goes in that direction, goes in that direction. Now, if you're at a thrift store like Savers or Goodwill, and they have a place where you can plug in electronics, this would be a good time to just check to see if the decks even work. You don't even always need a tape to do that. But I'm going to press play. It plays. I'm getting audio out of it, despite all that other crap. And does it reverse? It reverses. So it is a good running deck. Teddy Bear's Picnic. Here we go. Let's try the other side. Now, personally, if a dual cassette deck has one functioning deck, it goes right back to the store, or the thrift store where I found it, or it goes in the trash. If the deck is let me clarify what I mean. If there's a problem beyond something that is easily fixable, I'm not going to waste my time, unless it's a really nice deck. Let's see what this one does. Uh-oh. This does not look good. Pause actuator seems to work. This one probably has a broken belt. Now, I don't know. Okay, fast forward works. Rewind works. Play does not work. So now that could be as simple as a broken belt, or something even more horrifying. It's trying to reverse. So auto reverse is working. Probably got a broken belt. Now there's a lot of belts in there, so I think it's 2 per deck actually. But if I press play, see, it's not going to because the door's open, but if I close it up, it doesn't sense a tape. So we're gonna have to fool it into thinking that there's a tape in there. But at least we know one of these decks is gonna need more help than the other. Yeah, it's locking right up. So that could be an easy fix. So I'm not too worried about it. Now this tape is probably going to get thrown away because once I clean those heads, I don't think I want it contaminated. But we know that it doesn't work in either direction, but it does fast forward and play. So I'm thinking it's a broken belt. Easy fix. We're going to buy the whole kit. We're going to do both tires, and we'll have it off and running. Do I need a cassette deck? No. I don't even own more than 2 or 3 cassettes, period. But it's nice to have one, just because, you know, I still have a functioning VCR. Why not a cassette deck? And it's a JVC, back when JVC meant something. I think. I don't know. But they were still pretty decent, as far as I remember. But, you know, the thing is, cassette decks are really starting to make a comeback. The younger kids are, for some reason, they're really bringing them back. I think it's kind of cool, actually. I really do. I personally never liked cassettes. I grew up at the tail end of the cassette generation, like the very end of it. Like, we could still buy them in stores in the cassette tape section, you know, of our favorite bands. One of my best friends he bought the Nirvana Unplugged album on cassette. I bought it on CD, roughly around the same time. So, you know, cassettes were definitely a part of my life. And as a matter of fact, I still used cassettes well into, actually until I graduated high school in 2003. Because I would walk to school quite often, and I couldn't afford a good anti-skip CD player, so I bought a cassette player. So what I would do is I'd copy all my CDs to cassettes, and I'd play them on my Walkman. I used a Panasonic, if I recall, at the time. And it was an auto-reverse Panasonic cassette player. But I used them up until I graduated. In fact, I still had cassette players in my cars up until about maybe 2005. But and the only car I have right now that even remotely has a cassette deck is my Miata, but I've taken the head unit out and I've saved it in a safe spot so it won't get ruined. Anyway, let's move on to something else. Now, something that has really made a comeback in recent years, yes, the venerable turntable. Turntables. My, how the tables have turned on turntables. This, my friends, I got in the same lot. Belongs to an elementary school music room. So the music room had a cart with all the audio. They had a receiver, they had a turntable, cassette, CD, all that. The CD player, I didn't take that. I have a nice functioning one that I've pretty much gone through. So I didn't bother grabbing the CD player, but I got this. Now, I've been looking for a turntable for a while. I don't want to spend a lot of money, and this one happened to be the right price. It was completely free. It doesn't work. But it's all there. Now, it's a TransAudio 1600 belt-driven. I don't believe this is an auto-reverse. I'm pretty sure it is not an auto-reverse. Did I say auto? I meant auto-return. So it probably has a switch that shuts it off or something. We're going to fix this today, I think. Now, what I don't know is how good the head shell is or the stylus, but there is one there. It's present. I don't know what kind of head shell that is. Is that a Shure? Let's pull the needle out and see. So this is obviously not made by TransAudio. This is made by Denki Eiseko Suzuki. It's a Japanese company. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. Okay, so it's made by one of 2 manufacturers, according to some quick searching on Audio Karma. It's either made by CEC, it's like Chuo something Denki of Japan, or it could be Fujiya of Japan. So it's Japanese, most certainly. TransAudio was a house brand for what I understand to be Pacific Stereo. So it was kind of like probably a stereo sales chain. This was their house brand. For what little I know about turntables, and most of the turntables that I have personally owned were either made by, I think I had a Garrard at one point, but I've had several BSRs, and the BSRs are not a very well sought after turntable. I never had a problem with them, but again, not an audiophile. So this has an aluminum platter. Of course, you can't get those anymore on any turn. Well, I think if you spend a few $100 on a turntable, you can get an aluminum platter. But the whole device is under suspension. It is a belt-driven turntable, which is precisely why the unit doesn't work. Now, this is the belt that came on it. Now, I'm not going to do anything to this belt because I might need this as a reference for sizing. I bought a new belt for it. It's in this envelope, and we're going to see if it fits. Chances are, if you buy an old turntable like this, or get one for free, you find it, whatever, find it on the side of the road, you're probably going to need a belt. And I got one. So, this is a brand new belt. Before I do anything else, I'm going to check to see if it fits. Now, there's an oil port on this. Right over here, we're going to put a few drops of oil. See that there's a little sponge down in that hole. We're going to put a couple drops of oil in there. I'm going to confirm what kind of oil that's going to be. I know I have something to put there. This seems to be kind of draggy. The spindle here. We'll see how it plays. I haven't plugged this in. Let's plug it in and see if the motor even runs. The only thing I know that's wrong with it right now, obviously, is the belt. The belt is trash. So we're gonna see if this thing kicks in. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Play. Right. So as soon as, yeah, this is not an auto stop or an auto return, but the motor's spinning right now. Okay. So running this unit is pretty basic. So you've got your off switch. Now this is on with the head up, the needle up. And then if we bring it over here to play, it's going to drop down onto the record. Looks like that works pretty good. It comes down pretty softly. But does it shut off? No, this is no auto shut off at all. That's cute. All right, let's get some oil in this guy and talk about more of its pretty cool features. Alright, so we got the platter off, and here's the belt that came on the machine. Now, I don't want to do anything with, I'm not going to do any destructive demonstrations on this to show how weak it is. Actually, this isn't it. It's this one over here. This is a belt that came off of it, and it's very gummy. There's like nothing to it. But before we put the new belt on, I want to lubricate the motor. There is an oil port. It actually tells you to oil it there, and that's what I'm going to do. Right about there. So, you can see, if you look closely, probably not on camera, but if you look closely, you're going to see a little pad inside there. Now, I looked around to see what kind of oil to use, and you can probably tear your head off trying to determine what to use, because there are so many different lubricating products in the market. But this here is basically turbine oil, and we're going to go ahead and try it. What have we got to lose? But this is basically Zoom spout oil. I'm pretty sure it's the same product, just under a different brand. I also have 3-in-1 non-detergent, SAE20, which is also recommended, but you don't want to use too much of it. We're just going to put a couple of drops on that little pad, and then I'm going to take a swab and kind of wipe out the mess. Now this turntable dates back to about 1981. And I can tell you, it has never, ever been serviced. And it was used all the time. Because educational markets tend to use older equipment and older materials for a long time. They've got to get their money's worth out of it. So this turntable was probably used up until very recently, playing old educational records. Because, hey, we paid for that material, we're going to use it until we can't use it anymore. That's usually how it goes. Alright, so I'm just going to wipe up some of the excess oil. I don't want it, you know, kind of getting all over the place. I'm using these little fancy, dancy medical grade cotton swabs. These are nice. I like these. Alright, I'm going to wipe the deck down a bit with some window cleaner. Spray it on a rag. And we're going to clean it up a bit. There we go. It's nice, you know, what's really nice is I found a turntable that still has its dust cover. A lot of times they get lost. Now, being used in a school, it was never really smoked around. At least not for the past 35 years. So, now this is a simulated wood grain plastic. So this is not your high-end model. But it is a decent turntable. We'll talk about some of its features in a second. Let's take that cover off. Now, not only is the cover not missing, but it's also not cracked. Often I find turntables in, you know, at flea markets. I find them in, I find them everywhere, but they're either missing the cover's cracked, or just it's got some major damage. Now, I was talking to a good friend of mine, not V Westlife, but somebody local, who he's really into turntables, and I showed him a picture of the unit, and he couldn't believe. This is again one of the cool features that this turntable has, is it has a I forget the term for it, but anti-skate weight. That is actually the term. It has an anti-skating weight, which hangs, you can see it right there, kind of bobbing over all over the place over here. And what that does is it's an adjustable weight that adjusts the lateral force, or the skating force, of the tone arm. And usually any turntable that has that kind of feature, that's been used in a public educational setting, is going to have either the weight will be missing, or the string, or all of the above. But this one still has the whole assembly intact, which is kind of cool. But even if it was missing, if you can find out what the weight is supposed to be on that thing, you can actually make your own out of some fishing line, and carefully, you know, you can get a digital scale, little piece of metal, you can kind of make your own weight. So it's not the end of the world if your turntable had one and it's now missing. I just got lucky, I had one still intact. Alright, we'll put it on play, let that motor run a little bit. We're going to let the oil do its thing. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. I want to show you the speed adjustment on this. Now, this doesn't have a motor speed controller switch. Some of them are controlled by motor speed. Some of them just change the position of the belt. This is the latter. So your 45-33 switch, all that's going to do is reposition a belt guide that puts it on either the top or the bottom side of this this shaft. Now, I'm going to put a couple drops of Zoom Spout oil. My gut tells me to put it right about here. Oh, where's that rest? It just feels a little tight to me. So I'm going to put a couple drops down in there. Well, that's more than a couple of freaking drops. Oh yeah, that freed it right up. Much better. There's a lot of drag on there, and I don't think there's supposed to be. Now that is, again, not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to pull it apart, take the whole turntable out of the housing, and clean it. Provide some proper lubrication. That is the right way to do it. That's not the way I'm doing it. So, okay. All right. Now, to get a belt onto a turntable, For those of you who don't know, I'm just going to throw it here upside down for demonstration purposes. The belt should fit. First of all, we want to get it straight. The belt should snap around the inner part of the turntable. Flatter. It looks like it's going to fit too. It's going to have to, just like that. Okay, so once you get it on there, now some platters have a little bump or something like a little piton or a knob or something that this belt is supposed to snap onto to get it on. This doesn't have that, so we're going to have to do this by hand. This spins nice. Look at that. Look at her go. All right, so I am going to use a hey, here's an idea. I'm going to use one of my my swabs here. Can't say Q-tip. That's a brand name. And I'm going to put the belt at the end of the Q-tip like that. That's one way to do it. All right. Let's get the camera positioned. So I'm going to then stretch the belt with the Q-tip over under the motor shaft like so. I'm going to get it down into position. There we go. So start the motor. The belt will automatically position itself. Look at her go. She's a runner. 33. 35. Very nice. Look at that. Okay. I think we're ready to test this thing out, see if it works. But of course I can't play music on YouTube, so. But let me show you what the belt. Alright, this is the old belt. We're going to let that thing jive for a little while. This is the old one. I guess it didn't ball up, but look at it. There's just nothing. There's nothing to it. Alright. Now, surprisingly, the mat is in pretty good shape. It's not crumbling or cracking or any. It's still very pliable. It is a little dry. So I think if I were to get a nice replacement mat for this, that would be probably worth the effort. I think it's dry enough to where a record might slip on it if it were under too much weight. So, but look at this intricate little thing here. Now you see the red mark is the default position, and there's a way to calibrate this. It shouldn't have any bias. I think that's the deal. You don't want any bias on it. I don't have a tone arm scale to set the correct weight as far as the adjustable weight in the back. I don't have an actual scale to see how accurate that weight is. But otherwise, it seems like a pretty decent little turntable for what it is. It's an inexpensive model from the 1980s, from the late 70s, early 80s. And for what it is, I'm not going to complain. I got it for nothing. It cost me $10 for a belt. Even if I have to put a new head shell on it, I think I'm still in the clear. Now, just for my own sake, I want to see what it has for a needle. I'm going to pull that out. I think it should just pull right out of the. Let's see. Yeah, here. Let's take the head shell off. Let's get a good look at this. Is that Audio Technica? Help me out. It's not sure. Don't think that's sure. It's a little dust thingy on it. How am I supposed to pull this guy out? Well, I'm gonna clean this up with some air. And maybe I'll look into what kind of a needle or what kind of stylus this thing requires. I mean, I think it's worth a new stylus. Given its heavy use, I'm sure this thing is probably gone. I'm trying to think. On the Shores, this whole thing pulls out straight out. But this one, I don't know if maybe it has to be replaced as an entire unit. That could be. It could very well be. Yeah. I think it might be, I think the whole unit gets replaced. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. I don't have the answer right now, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. Get some of that dust out of there. All right. Yeah, we'll look at that later. We'll see what it sounds like first, and then we'll look at what it would take to replace it. Okay. Now I'm going to set this up over on that table over there, where my I don't have an amplifier. I don't have a receiver. All I have is that that Bose acoustic radio. So I'm going to just stick it over there, and we'll set it up. Okay. So I don't know if it works yet, but we're going to find out. One problem, and it just hit me just a minute ago, this does not have a phonograph input. And the phonograph input is basically, it takes basically like a microphone signal, very weak, output, and it amplifies it internally. Now, if your turntable has a preamp out, then okay. But I don't think this does. We're going to find out. So it's going to be really weak. If it works, it'll be very weak. Okay, so we'll put it on input. Turn this on. And we're going to get our needle set onto the record. And then we'll let it drop down like so. Okay. I hear it. There we go. Okay, so it's really slow. We'll let it run for a while. Let that oil do its thing. But you can get an external preamp that will work with one of these units. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find a package deal, like if somebody's selling a set of speakers and a receiver and with a phono input, I'll pick that up. And a lot of that stuff on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace is where a lot of that stuff is right now. So we'll do that. We'll set up a nice little system. But it's running a little slow, I can tell. I don't have a strobe light, so I can't confirm the exact speed. And there are no adjustments on this unit, so yeah. On second thought, this is a live recording. It might be, it just might be it might be okay. But I think that because it's been sitting for so long, that motor is probably a hair gummed up. So we may have to pull the motor apart and clean it thoroughly. But hey, this was a fun video to make, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. But again, yeah, there is no auto return on this turntable, so you don't want to run this one unoccupied. So to stop it, we're going to set it to Q, and we're going to manually bump it over and then click it off. And we'll just lock that in place like that. And we'll revisit this issue later. In the meantime, I'm going to try to get the stuff ordered to rebuild that cassette deck. And then I'm going to go on the hunt for a nice little receiver, maybe a couple of speakers, and we'll have a nice sound system down here in the basement where you can rock out your cassettes, CDs, and records. Have a great day. It just hit me. The Teddy Bear's Picnic, performed by Jerry Garcia, copyright 1993. Holy shit. Was this his last recording? I can't believe that I just noticed that. Jerry Garcia. The Jerry Garcia? Oh, I gotta find out. I only have one working cassette deck, and it only works on days that end in E. So let's see what happens. I gotta know. I have to know. This cassette deck that I went through this one, and it kind of works when it wants to. See, it doesn't want to. Oh, there it goes. Rewind. Is it rewound? It is rewound. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna hold on. There it goes. Yeah, see? There's skips. But it does work. Sorta. Yeah, that's him, alright. Pretty sure. That is so cool. That is so cool. Jerry Garcia did a children's tape. I didn't know that. That's awesome. It does sound like him, though. Alright, well, we'll put that away.